I'm a spoiled succubus Omega. For money, I schemed my way into a top alpha's bed during my heat cycle. As I clung to him, begging for more, floating comments suddenly appeared before my eyes. Here he goes again. This horny demon will die if he doesn't get laid for one day. The male lead was in the middle of an international conference and had to rush back to feed him. Who does he think he is? Thank God the male lead is already disgusted by him. He's just putting up with it. Because of their contract, I heard succubae can only bond once in their lifetime. When he's completely abandoned, the male lead will forcibly break the contract. He'll starve to death on the streets. His body will rot, and no one will even collect his corpse. Just thinking about it feels so satisfying. I felt ice cold all over, and suddenly pushed him away. Ethan looked up sharply, desire still lingering in his eyes. His voice husky. "You're satisfied this quickly today?" I froze beneath him, fingers gripping the sheets tightly. The tale I'd revealed in passion was now scared back into my body. After a long moment, I refused with a trembling voice. "I'm good." Ethan raised an eyebrow. He didn't move, his arms still wrapped around my waist, the pressure just tight enough to trap me in his embrace. Maybe because he just showered. His bathrobe hung loosely, revealing his muscular chest. His pheromones mixed with the cool scent of body wash invaded my nostrils. Normally, I would have pounced on him like a hungry cat, riding his waist, arms around his neck, rubbing against him while acting cute, wanting to drain him dry. But those harsh comments kept scrolling before my eyes. Now he's learned to play hard to get hilarious. He'll be crawling back begging for it soon enough. Male lead, don't be fooled by him. He's just a useless thing who only knows how to go into heat. But that's good, too. Having trash like him as contrast makes the real love interest look rational and gentle. The real love interest and male lead are true soulmates, a million times better than this perverted waste. Just wait. The more arrogant he is now, the more miserable he'll be when abandoned. My throat tightened. I forced a smile and repeated, "I'm really full. Don't you have work?"
Don't worry about me.
"Go handle your business." Ethan said nothing. He propped himself up with one hand beside me,
Looking down at me.
dark currents swirled in his eyes, usually distant and cold, now deep as ink. All he laughed meaningfully. His fingertips suddenly traced my most sensitive tailbone. I couldn't help but moan softly. The tail I'd scared back emerged again. Involuntarily, Ethan grabbed my wrist, pulling me back beneath him. But I'm not full yet. My heart leaped with joy, but the comments appeared again. Is the male lead getting carried away? As if how could the male lead get carried away over this idiot?
It's just alpha instinct.
Don't flatter yourself. When the real love interest appears, this instinct means nothing. Breathing suddenly became difficult. I turned my head away, not wanting to see those disgusting comments. But Ethan lowered his head, warm breath falling on my neck, voice deep with a hint of displeasure. "Weren't you the one calling and begging me to come back? What are you avoiding now?" I bit my lip, pressing my knees against his ABS, trying to push him away. "I didn't. I'm just tired." He looked at me for a long time. So long. I thought he'd finally gotten impatient and would get up to leave. Instead, he leaned down, lips against my ear whispering, "Since you're tired, I'll do the moving." The next day I woke up to extremely pale eyes staring at me, the corners tilted up, naturally carrying inherent distance and coldness. I squinted, my brain foggy, instinctively reaching into the man's shirt, railing along his warm ABS upward. The person in front frowned without lifting his eyelids, catching my hand through the fabric. His voice was cold. "Stop it." I instantly became alert. Comments scrolled by on time. The side character is so disgusting. Getting horny first thing in the morning. At this rate, he'll ruin the male lead's health. No awareness at all. Can't he see the male lead is annoyed with him? Good thing, he's just cannon fodder once the official couple appears. I'll be kicked out immediately. It's always intimacy, intimacy, intimacy. Side character.
Give it a rest.
We want to see plot development. When will the real love interest appear? Can't wait to see this idiot get slapped in the face. The more I read, the angrier I got. I was the one tortured to exhaustion last night. I was the one saying no more.
I'm tired.
These comments acted blind to it all. Just kept cursing me. My hand unconsciously pinched hard. The man in front hissed softly, brow furrowing. Adrian getting bold.
Aren't you?
I realized what I'd done and quickly pulled my hand from his shirt. I didn't dare look at him guiltily. "Why haven't you left yet?" Ethan was silent for a moment. "Are you kicking me out?" His tone was slow, carrying inexplicable coldness. I swallowed hard. Survival instinct made my brain spin fast. Don't make things up. I just thought you had that important meeting yesterday. I interrupted it. Will that affect the company? I stubbornly made up excuses. If something goes wrong, what will you use to support me? I'm telling you, I can't handle hardship. I can't live a tough life with you. If you go bankrupt, I'll be the first to run. Ethan didn't speak, just looked at me. His stare made my scalp tingle. Then he suddenly reached toward me, maybe scared by the vicious comments. I instinctively shrank back, my voice rising. What are you doing? Ethan's face immediately darkened. Didn't you say every time I leave, I must give you a goodbye kiss? I froze, remembering when I first bonded with Ethan. I woke up every morning to find him gone. That was when my physical and emotional needs were greatest. Lying alone in the empty big bed, smelling his lingering pheromones, my heart felt restless and panicked. So I acted cute and clung to him, demanding he wait for me to wake up every morning and kiss me before leaving. At first, he frowned, unwilling. He often forgot when I woke to find him gone again. I'd furiously call him dozens of times after I threw several tantrums. He gradually got used to it. But thinking of the comments, remembering his usual cold demeanor, he must have been extremely unwilling inside, just forced to compromise because I pestered him endlessly. Thinking this, I frantically waved my hands. No need. After a pause, I added, never again. As my words fell, Ethan's aura clearly dropped. He looked down at me, his eyes dark and unreadable. Then he laughed coldly. He withdrew his hand frozen in midair, got out of bed, and put on his suit jacket. His movements were crisp and efficient without excess. Before leaving, he looked back at me. Adrian, you better be able to hold back. After speaking, he pushed the door and left directly. The lock clicked shut. I stared at that door, suddenly feeling the room was frighteningly empty. Actually, I had lied to Ethan. I wasn't full. I was starving. The moment his footsteps faded down the hallway, the hollow ache in my abdomen flared up like a dying ember catching the wind. Succubae are creatures built on indulgence. We feed on pheromones, on touch, on the intense, overwhelming rush of an alpha's desire. Denying myself last night had been difficult. Pushing him away this morning was akin to holding my own head underwater. I buried my face in the pillow he had just vacated, inhaling the lingering scent of cedar and frost. My fangs ached, extending instinctively, biting into the expensive silk pillowcase. Look at him, sniffing the sheets like a pathetic dog, a floating line of text sneered across my vision. He brought this on himself. Ethan is finally waking up. I give it 3 days before the male lead files for the contract. Termination. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block out the glowing, semi-translucent letters, but they burned against the inside of my eyelids. Contract termination. For an ordinary Omega, breaking a bond was agonizing, requiring months of medical intervention and psychological therapy. For a succubus, it was a death sentence. Our biology demanded an anchor. If the alpha who marked us severed the tie, our bodies would literally consume themselves from the inside out. I won't let him, I whispered to the empty room, my voice trembling. I'll survive. If this world was a novel, and I was just the vicious, disposable cannon fodder, then I had to rewrite my ending. I needed money, I needed a fake identity, and I needed to figure out how to numb a succubus's biological dependence before Ethan completely discarded me. For the next 4 days, Ethan didn't come home. This wasn't entirely unusual. He was the CEO of a massive multinational conglomerate, and his business trips were frequent. But previously, he would call. He would demand to hear my voice, his tone cold, but his breathing heavy, making me hum and coax him through the phone. He would leave items of his clothing behind, specifically unwashed, so I wouldn't go out of my mind with hunger. This time, there was nothing. Total radio silence. By day 4, my skin was overly sensitive, prickling with a feverish heat. My joints ached. My tail, usually a playful, sensitive appendage that curled around Ethan's wrists, dragged heavily against the floor, twitching in distress. I had been surviving on black market omega suppressants, swallowing them dry until my throat bled, but human medicine barely scratched the surface of a demon's starvation. I was curled up on the sofa, wrapping myself in his winter coat, when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Ethan's secretary, David. Mr. Wright requires you to attend the annual charity gala tonight. Dress code is formal. A car will be sent at 7 p.m. I stared at the screen. Why would he want me there? He rarely brought me to public events. I was his dirty secret, his bedroom indulgence, or, at least, That's what I had assumed. OMG, the gala arc. The comments suddenly flared to life, dense and rapid.
Is it?
This is where the male lead officially introduces the real love interest. To high society. Rip to the succubus. He's going to be humiliated so badly. Tonight. I heard Julian is wearing the designer suit Ethan bought him. They are
Going to look so perfect together.
Can't wait to see this trash Omega's face. When he realizes he's being replaced. My blood ran cold.
Julian.
The real love interest. So that was it. Ethan hadn't invited me to be his partner.
He had invited me to
Be the contrast. He wanted to parade his true soulmate in front of me. To force me to recognize my place before he kicked me to the curb. A surge of rebellious anger sliced through my misery. I was a succubus. We were creatures of pride and vanity. If I was going down tonight, if this was my final curtain call before I ran away to save my own life, I wasn't going to look like a miserable, abandoned stray. I dragged myself off the couch, forced 3 more suppressant pills down my throat to kill the fever, and walked to my dressing room. The gala was a sea of glittering chandeliers, clinking champagne glasses, and the stifling, mingling sense of high society alphas and omegas. When I stepped into the ballroom, heads turned. I had chosen a deep burgundy suit that hugged my waist and emphasized the pale, almost ethereal quality of my
skin.
I kept my scent tightly locked away, but the natural allure of my bloodline made people stare regardless. TCH, still trying to seduce people. Who cares what he wears? He's garbage. Inside. Wait until he sees them. I ignored the floating text, grabbing a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. I scanned the room. It didn't take long to find him. Ethan stood near the center of the room, exuding a terrifying, commanding presence. He wore a bespoke charcoal suit, his broad shoulders and sharp jawline making the other alphas look like soft boys playing dress-up. And standing right beside him was an Omega. He was beautiful. That was the first thing I noticed. Where I was sharp edges, dark allure, and chaotic energy, this Omega was soft, luminous, and elegant.
He
wore a pristine white suit. He was smiling gently at something Ethan said. And Ethan, the cold, ruthless Ethan, was leaning in, listening attentively. The scent of white tea and morning dew drifted through the air.
Pure. Clean.
Everything I wasn't. Look at them.
True soulmates.
Julian is so perfect. Ethan's pheromones are practically wrapping around him. Look at the side character staring in the corner. Cry harder. Trash. A sharp pain lanced through my chest. So visceral, I actually gasped.
My
fingernails dug into my palms, breaking the skin. I had schemed my way into Ethan's bed for money. I told myself it was a transaction. But looking at him now, looking at the man whose heartbeat I had fallen asleep to for a year, giving his attention to someone else, it felt like my soul was being torn in half. I took a step back, intending to slip out the side door. I had seen enough.
The
plot was right. I needed to pack my bags and disappear tonight. Adrian. The voice sliced through the hum of the ballroom.
Low.
Commanding. Chilling. I froze. Ethan was looking directly at me across the crowd. The ambient chatter died down as the CEO of Wright Industries walked toward me, the beautiful Omega trailing curiously behind him. Ethan stopped a few feet away. His icy pale eyes raked over me, taking in the burgundy suit, the pale face, the slight tremble in my hands. His gaze lingered on my throat, where my scent gland was meticulously covered by my collar. "You're late," he said, his tone unreadable. "Traffic," I lied smoothly, tilting my chin up. I forced a brilliant, seductive smile, the very smile he used to kiss off my lips. "I see you've been well accompanied, Mr. Wright." Julian stepped forward, offering a soft, sympathetic smile. "You must be Adrian. Ethan has told me so much about you."
I'm Julian.
He extended a hand. "Don't touch him, Julian. You'll catch his disease." "Ugh, the succubus is going to do something bitchy, I just know it." I looked at Julian's perfectly manicured hand.
I didn't take it.
Instead, I took a sip of my champagne. "Has he? Funny, he's never mentioned you." Julian's smile faltered slightly, a flash of hurt in his eyes. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Adrian, mind your manners." The reprimand felt like a physical slap. He was defending him. Of course he was. "My apologies," I said, my voice dangerously sweet. "I'm just a spoiled, uncultured thing, aren't I? I wouldn't want to ruin the atmosphere. I'll take my
leave."
I turned on my heel, desperate to escape before the suppressants wore off. completely, and I collapsed. But before I could take a single step, a large, iron grip hand clamped down on my wrist. Where do you think you're going? Ethan's voice was suddenly dangerously low. Meant only for me. Let go of me, I hissed, trying to wrench my arm away. But his grip was like a
Vice.
the heat radiating from his skin sent a violent shudder through my starving body. My knees actually buckled slightly, and Ethan had to catch me by the waist to keep me upright. His scent, frost and deep cedar, enveloped me. I let out a pathetic, involuntary whimper. He's faking it. He's pretending to be weak to get the male lead's attention. Shameless. Julian is standing right there. You're burning up, Ethan murmured, his nose grazing my hair. His tone shifted from cold anger to sudden, sharp alarm. What did you do? Where is your scent? It's none of your business, I choked out, tears of sheer physical agony, pricking my eyes. Go back to your soulmate.
Let me go, Ethan.
Just let me go. Ethan stiffened. He looked at Julian, who was watching us with wide, confused eyes, and then back at me. A dark, terrifying storm brewed in his pale eyes. Without another word, Ethan scooped me up into his arms. Ethan? Julian called out, stepping forward. Is everything all right?
The
investors. Cancel the meetings, Ethan barked over his shoulder, his eyes fixed on my
face.
Do not follow me. He shoved me into the back of his Maybach, slamming the privacy divider up. Before the driver even started the engine, I scrambled to the furthest corner of the leather seat, curling into a defensive
ball.
My body was betraying me. The proximity to his alpha pheromones was stripping away the effects of the pills. My tail tore through the fabric of my trousers, wrapping around my own waist protectively. Ethan didn't give me space. He crowded me into the corner, grabbing my jaw and forcing me to look at him. What did you take? He demanded, his voice a low, terrifying rumble. You smell like chemicals. Where is your natural scent, Adrian? Get away from me. I shoved at his chest, but he didn't budge an inch. I don't need you. I don't want you. Liar, he snarled. He reached up and ruthlessly tore my collar open, popping the buttons. He pressed his nose against my scent gland. I shrieked, a full body tremor racking my spine as he inhaled deeply. He pulled back, his face pale with fury. Suppressants? You took black market suppressants? Are you out of your fucking mind? You are a bonded succubus. This amount of chemical dampening could kill you. So what? I screamed, tears finally spilling over, ruining my carefully applied makeup. Better I do it myself than wait for you to sever the bond. Ethan froze. The anger in his eyes shattered, replaced by sheer, unadulterated shock. Sever the bond? What the hell are you talking about? He's gaslighting him. The comments flashed desperately. Male lead, don't listen
to him.
He's manipulating you. I swatted blindly at the air, trying to push the glowing words away. I know everything. I sobbed, the dam finally breaking. The exhaustion, the hunger, the sheer terror of the last few days crashed down on me. I know about Julian.
I
know he's your true love, your soulmate. I know you're disgusted by me, that you only tolerate me because of your alpha instincts. I know that once you're done with me, you're going to break the contract and let me rot on the streets.
So,
just do it now. Don't drag it out. Just kill me now. Silence descended on the car. The only sound was my ragged, desperate breathing. I kept my eyes squeezed shut, waiting for the blow, waiting for the cold confirmation of my impending doom. Instead, I felt warm, calloused fingers gently wipe the tears from my cheeks. I opened my eyes. Ethan was looking at me, but the cold, distant CEO was completely gone. The man staring back at me looked entirely unhinged. The dark currents in his eyes weren't just deep, they were obsessive, feral.
Who told you that?
Ethan whispered, his voice dangerously soft. It doesn't matter, I stuttered, shrinking back. Who told you I was disgusted by you? He moved closer, trapping my legs between his thighs. Who put the idea in your head that I would ever let you go?
Warning.
Male lead character deviation. The floating comments were turning a panicked, flashing red. The plot is derailing. System error. But Julian, I whispered, thoroughly confused. He's perfect. He's your soulmate. Ethan let out a harsh, incredulous laugh. Julian is the son of our primary steel supplier. I met him exactly 3 times to finalize a merger. He smells like cheap air freshener and talks too much. Soulmate? Adrian, do you honestly believe I believe in something as trivial as soulmates? He grabbed my hand, pressing my palm flat against his chest, right over his racing heart. Listen to me, Ethan said, his voice trembling with a terrifying intensity. You think you schemed your way into my bed? I blinked, stunned.
I drugged your wine.
I waited in your hotel room during my heat. I own the hotel, Ethan said smoothly. Do you think a stray Omega could bypass my security, drug my glass, and hide in my bed without me knowing? I watched you bribe the bartender. I watched you sneak into my suite. My breath hitched.
What?
I knew what you were, Ethan continued, leaning in until our lips were a breath apart. A succubus. Wild, greedy, and utterly beautiful. You were in heat.
If I
Hadn't let you in, you would have found another alpha that night. Some lesser, manned to feed on. I couldn't allow that. The world tilted on its axis. The comments were screaming, glitching into unreadable symbols, but I couldn't tear my eyes away from Ethan. You think I'm tolerating you? Ethan's hand slid to the back of my neck, his thumb stroking my pulse point. Adrian, you are the one pulling away. I have spent the last year addicted to you. When you pushed me away the other morning, when you said you wouldn't endure hardship with me, I nearly tore my own office apart.
I thought you were bored of me.
I thought you had fed enough and were preparing to leave. He rested his forehead against mine, his breathing ragged. I was giving you space because I was afraid if I touched you, I would lose control and lock you away where no one else could ever see you. Break the bond? Adrian, if this bond ever breaks, it will be because I am dead. The red, glitching text in the air flickered wildly. No, he's a side character. This is wrong. The true love. The plot. Error. Error. Terminating display. With a sound like shattering glass inside my mind, the comments exploded into pixels and vanished. The air was clear. My vision was empty of the hateful, scrolling text. There was only Ethan. The dam holding back my succubus nature completely obliterated. The realization that I was safe, that he was utterly, obsessively mine, hit me like a tidal
Wave.
my tail whipped around, wrapping securely around Ethan's thigh. A deep, purring rumble started in my chest. Ethan's eyes darkened immediately, the frost melting into searing, possessive
Heat.
He felt the shift in my demeanor, the sudden release of my heavy, intoxicating pheromones filling the enclosed space of the car. You lied to me, I whispered, my voice returning to its natural, sultry cadence. I slid my arms around his neck, tangling my fingers in his pristine
Hair.
You manipulated me into binding with you. I secured what was mine, Ethan murmured, his hands gripping my hips tightly, pulling me fully onto his lap. Are you going to run away? I don't know, I hummed, nipping playfully at his jawline, feeling the erratic pulse beneath his skin. My body was singing, the starvation replaced by an overwhelming, ravenous hunger for him. I'm a very spoiled succubus. I require a lot of maintenance. What if I drain you dry? Ethan groaned as my hips shifted against him. The last vestiges of his self-control snapped. Try, he ordered, right before his mouth crashed down on mine. It was a kiss of utter desperation, a collision of teeth and tongues that tasted like salt, tears, and absolute surrender. His pheromones crashed over me, cool and heavy, sinking into my pores and feeding the hollow ache in my soul.
I
Whimpered into his mouth, my claws extending slightly to grip his broad shoulders, anchoring myself to him. He kissed me until my head spun, his hands mapping my body, reacquainting himself with every curve he had been denied for days. When he finally pulled back, we were both panting, our foreheads resting together. We're going home, Ethan said, his voice ragged. He reached up and tapped the glass divider. David, drive faster. I let out a soft laugh, resting my head against his chest, listening to the furious, steady beat of his heart. The floating comments were gone. The real love interest was left standing in a ballroom, completely forgotten. The plot, the supposed destiny of this world, had been utterly shattered by a single, undeniable truth. I wasn't a tragic cannon fodder. I was his. And as Ethan's arms tightened around me, shielding me from the world, I knew I would never let him go.